there, Charlani here. So one of the biggest questions I am asked is usually about juicing. And I love juicing. It's something that I've incorporated into my healthier lifestyle over the last couple of years, and I love juice. So this video is gonna be all about how I juice, what I'm juicing. I'm giving you some tips and resources. And then at the very end, I am going to answer questions that I have gotten over the last couple of years, just so that you'll have all of your questions answered. But if you do have questions, please just let me know. All right, so here you go. You can go ahead and watch the video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Share it if you think that somebody else might enjoy watching a video on how to juice. So the base of my juice is usually carrots. And I just like the way that they taste. It's a vegetable, they're very healthy for you. And it just gives it a nice sweeter flavor. And I just love them. I get a bag like this at Costco. And for each juicing session, I usually use about half a bag. And this is a 10-pound bag, so roughly about 5 pounds. And what I do is I just cut either end off of each carrot. So we just cut the ends off like this, and I actually do not even peel them. That's all I do. Another tip is I have kind of a throwaway composting bowl, just like this. And then I also have a place for all of the garbage. Just makes cleanup a little bit easier and keeps your workspace nice and organized. Okay, so the next thing I add in are my apples. And sometimes I'll just go in and buy a bag like this, or a bag like this. It just kind of depends on what is on sale. You can also get a big, huge bag at Costco. I've done that as well. You can use green apples. I personally like Pink Ladies. I like the Red Delicious, and I like Gala because they are sweet. So it does add a little bit more sugar into your juice, but I'm okay with that. I like to drink the juice because it tastes really, really good, and it's got those health benefits to it, so it's totally worth it to me. If you want to make your juice just a little bit healthier, a little less sugar, you can do the Granny Smith, the green apples, and you'll be good to go. So you can get your apples however you're gonna get them, and I like to cut them into quarters like this. And I do take the stem out of it. I cut that off, but I leave the skin on, and it doesn't have to be a perfect cut. I just kind of get it all chopped up, and you'll see that there's always a little bit of something left on there, and that's totally okay. All right, so I just cut it a little off center, a little off to the side there, and then cut it down the middle to get the core out. And that's good enough. That's all you need. The juicer will do the rest of the work for you. All right, so the next thing I add in are my oranges. This is a 4-pound bag of oranges. To be really honest, I like to have a lot of orange juice in my juices. However, it's not orange season, so this is kind of just what I got. Again, if you have the oranges at Costco, I would definitely get them from there because they're a lot less expensive than getting them from the store. But you can buy them in a bag like this. You can buy them separately. It just depends on whatever is less expensive, and that's usually the way that I go. All right, so this is how I go in to cut the oranges. We want them to be like this. I don't actually peel them, I just cut the rind off of them, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You could just kind of do a quick chop, but I do like to cut off the top, and then the bottom, and then I just go over the side and just kind of follow the rind. It's okay to have a little bit on there. I mean, it's even okay to have some of that skin on there too. Just cut it off like this. See, that's pretty quick. And then I cut it down the middle, and there we go. You can cut them again depending on the size of your juicer. And if you have any seeds in there, if I can see the seeds, I do take them out, but if they're Inside it, I don't worry about it. My juicer is just fine and it will go ahead and juice that up. So for example, this one right here has a seed there. It's right there, so I'll just pull it out. But if it was inside, I would just leave it and it's not a big deal. So the next thing that I'm going to prep are the cucumbers. And I use this veggie wash. I get it at Sprouts. I know you can get it, I'm assuming at Whole Foods. There's lots of different veggie washes, so it's just preference, whatever it is you like. This one works just fine for me. It doesn't change the way that your vegetables taste at all, or your fruits. It works just fine. So what I've done is, because you can kind of feel when on the cucumbers, it's a little bit of like a waxy film on there. I do not take the skin off my cucumbers, so I want to make sure that I get as much of that goopy stuff off of there as I can, because obviously that's going to end up in your juice. So I just do that, let it sit on here for about 2 minutes. Just let it sit in the strainer, and then I'm going to go ahead and rinse it and get these just a quick chop. And I just chop off either end and then cut it right down the center. So chop off the ends, cut right down the center. Easy, ready to go. All right, so the next thing I get is the celery, and I get the whole thing. I don't get just the celery stalks, because you can get that at the store without the leaves on it, but we're gonna juice it anyway, so it doesn't matter. I like to cut the end off. Don't eat this. And I like to cut the tips off. I don't know what it is. I just personally like to cut the ends of the vegetables that I'm going to juice off. I don't know, maybe it doesn't really matter. That's just the way that I do it. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna stick this in my colander and I'm gonna give it a quick wash. All right, doesn't get much easier than that. So I'm gonna just go ahead, add this to the pile of other stuff that I'm going to juice. And the next thing we're gonna do is chop up and cut lemons. For this size, I'm gonna use 2. I might use 3, we'll just kind of play that by ear. I don't like a ton of lemon in my juice, but it does add a little bit of a kick, and lemon juice, the benefits to it, the health benefits are amazing. So you should add at least 1 lemon to a juicing session if you choose to. And I actually cut the lemons a lot like how I cut the oranges. I just cut the ends off, and then I just go right down the sides. The more rind you have in your juice, the more bitter it's going to taste, or the more tart. So I try and get as much of that rind off as possible. Cut it down the center. Again, if you can pull seeds out, great. If not, that's good enough. And I just do halves. That works for me. Okay, so the last thing that I'm gonna add to this juicing session is ginger root. And my tip on this is, what I do is I grate it. I take all the skin off of it. It's just a little bit easier on my juicer, and I find that when you don't do that, some of the skin gets into the juice, which isn't a bad thing, but I prefer it not to be that way. But when you purchase this, you know how some of them can be super wonky? Well, if you're gonna be grating it, the less of the little knobs and the outshoots that you have, the easier it's going to be to grate. So I would just get one that's somewhat straight. And this is about 1, 2, 3, I would say about 4 inches. And you just need to, this is actually quite a bit for a juicing session, but it just kind of depends on how much ginger taste you like. It's something that you just kind of have to play around with. The other thing is, I have found that sometimes I'll add just like an inch of ginger, and it's very overwhelming. I personally love the taste of ginger, but my son, for example, does not. So, and it actually makes it a little bit spicy too, not like super spicy, like as if you're putting jalapenos or something in it, but it does give it a little bit of a kick. So just play around with it, and it's basically 2 tastes, and the more you do this, you'll know more about how much you want in there. So I just take the grater and I just go through, and then you can just start peeling it off. It's really easy, just like that. And just get as much of the skin off as you can. It does not have to be perfect. When you go around those knobs, you can see, I'll show you real quick, just kind of how that goes. But you'll see that there's still gonna be just a little bit left on there, and that's totally fine. That is okay. So sometimes ginger will be more overpowering than other times when you buy this. It just kind of depends on if it's organic, if it's not, the grower, all of that good stuff. So ginger, another thing that is amazing for health benefits. Look it up, Google it, it's awesome. And then just play around with it and figure out how much you want in your juice. All right, so this is what I ended up with. I have grated all of the skin off, or as much as I feel is necessary, and this is what I end up with. And I cut it in half because that was a pretty long piece, and I like to keep it 1 to 2 inches long. It just makes it a little bit easier for my juicer. All right, so here we go. We've got our oranges, our celery, we've got the ginger right there on top. We've got our apples, our lemon, we've got our cucumber and our carrots. All right, so now it's time to start juicing. All right, so at this point, it's now time to get the juicing itself done. So there's a lot of prep work that goes into it, but if you do the prep work all in one fell swoop, it just goes a lot faster. And then all you have to do is just get stuff going into the juicer. Now, what I have is I just use a measuring cup. You can use a bowl, you can use whatever will fit under here. Most juicers come with a pitcher. I don't know what happened to mine. This could have come with one. I can't remember. Like I said, I got this a long time ago, and I actually didn't use it for a good 1.5 years, 2 years. So I don't know if it came with a pitcher or not. So I just used this, and then obviously this juice is gonna make a lot more than just these 4 cups. So what I do is I just use a big pot, or you can just get a bigger pitcher so that you can kind of collect everything in one area. And then what I'll do is I'll put them into something that I can really easily pour from, and then I'll get them into my juicing bottles. So let's go ahead and let's get this started. Okay, so first tip is I like to start with the grainiest things, and that would be my celery. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get these all going in here. My favorite part of juicing is getting everything into the juicer. All right, so there we've got our celery juice. I'm gonna add that here. Next thing I'm going to do is juice the apples. Go ahead and get in the ginger, and then I'm going to add the lemons and then the cucumbers. Oranges and the carrots left. So it's at this point, that's quite a bit of juice I've got there. You can kind of see that there. But this is the point where I look in and see just kind of where we're at. And yep, looks like we should probably take this bag out, switch it out, because the oranges and the carrots actually give off a lot of that pulp. There's a lot of extras there. So just so I don't have to do it in the middle of juicing, I'm gonna go ahead and take it out and do it now. And this is how easy this is. Like, it really is super simple. So just pull this out, take the bag out. Rob will dump that and add it to the compost. This is still nice and clean. Add your bag back in there. There we go, ready to go again. All right, so I had said that a lot of the pulp comes out of the carrots and the oranges most. And look at, just from those carrots, you can see that it's very, very full. So I just like to kind of push it down in here, just so I don't have to use another bag, and we should be okay and give that enough room for the rest of the oranges that I have to do as well. So we should be good to go. All right, so as you can see, there is actually a lot of foam up here on the top of this. There are juicers out there that actually like emit less of this. I probably said that wrong. But I just go ahead and take this and I just skim off the very top and I just put it in my compost bowl because Rob will take that out and add it to our garden. So we're not really wasting this stuff, but I just prefer not to have foamy juice. That's just how I am. And when I do upgrade and get another juicer, I will probably get one that has less foam in the final product, because this is just not really what I want. So, and you don't have to get it all, just get most of it. I hold it up until it kind of stops dripping, and then we add it here. And then once you kind of get it mixed in here like this, then it'll be all good. It'll be fine. So a little bit of foam is fine, but I just don't want like 2 inches of foam up at the top of my juice bottle. I don't know, I kind of think that's a little bit, bleh. I don't like it. All right, and so this is the color of this juice. Now it's going to just kind of depend on the juice that you, or the fruits and vegetables that you use, obviously. Sometimes I'll put a beet in here because it makes it this beautiful pink or dark red, depending on how much of the beet you put in there. But this time we're gonna just kind of keep it brown. It looks a little bit muddy, but that's okay. It's gonna be delicious. It smells so good. All right, so the next step is to get this juice into these bottles. And you just use whatever you have. If you have one of those siphon thingies, that might be a little bit easier. Personally, I like to pour it from this into here. And then I'll go ahead and pour this into these bottles. I get these bottles on Amazon. I believe they're called Breville juice bottles, but if you go into the search and you just type in juicing bottles or glass juicing bottles, these will pop up. Totally worth it. You want to get glass, you don't want to get plastic, because like if you're like me and you put lemon will eat through that plastic anyway, so you got to get glass. It actually keeps it fresher longer as well. And you can see that the lids here have like this little thingy in there that's concave, and it actually, when you go ahead and fill it to the very top, it's gonna allow air not to get into it, so it stays fresher longer. All right, so let's go ahead and get this juice into these bottles. There we go. We ended up with 10 bottles of juice. That is going to be plenty for the next few days for us here. And now it is time to clean. And yes, it's a project, especially when you juice that much, because you end up with a whole lot of, you know, pulp and garbage. But if you keep it kind of somewhat clean as you go, the process of cleaning up is not going to be that bad. So what's most time consuming is just taking this apart. Everyone's our juicers are different. So just make sure that you follow the instructions on how to clean out all of the pieces of your juicer. So I actually have a brush, this brush here, that is for my juicer only. We don't use these on pots and pans or cups or plates or anything else. This is used only for my juicer. And I actually keep it, I'll show you what I keep it on. It usually just sits right here. I think this is like a baby bottle thing, but I use it for my tumblers and my glass cups, things that can't go into the dishwasher but need to be dried. So I got this on Amazon. I love it. And I just make sure that I keep these out here so nobody else touches them. And this is what comes with those juicing bottles. So it makes it really, really easy to clean them. So I keep everything a little bit separate. for my juicing stuff. Okay, so the first thing I will do is I've got hot water in here. We'll get to this stuff in just a second, but I get hot water on my brush, and then I go over to my juicer, and all of these little crevices, I just kind of go in like this. You don't want to submerge this in water, but you could put a little bit of, water on top of it. Make sure you get, if anything seeped through or spilled onto here, you don't want it to dry up, because then it's gonna be really sticky and yucky, and you don't want that. And I just kind of go through the sides, do the same thing like this. And just make sure your water is really hot. That way you can, it just makes it a little bit easier to get those chunks out of there if they've dried up a little bit. All right, good enough. And now I just get a paper towel and I just dry that off. Easy. All right, so one of the things that I hear most about juicing is that it's so messy, that you've got so much cleanup. Yeah, you do. You gotta clean up the mess that you make, but when you get better at it, then you'll make less of a mess. But you know what? It's juicing. You got an appliance you're gonna have to clean. It's really not that much of a big deal. It literally takes 5 minutes to do it. You can afford to spend 5 minutes cleaning up after yourself. So don't be lazy, just clean it up. So what I do is, again, I have my handy dandy brush, and I just go through and wipe everything out, clean everything out, get everything out of there. It's really not that difficult. And depending on your machine, usually you only have 2 or 3 things to clean up. I end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and it takes maybe a minute for each thing. So I just get everything in here. I like to use as hot of water as I can. And I probably should have put my gloves on, because my nails are gonna be all kinds of jacked up. But that's okay. Again, totally worth it. So get all those nooks and crannies. I like to use a scrub brush like this, just because it gets in there. It gets all of those little pieces for you. So, if you use a sponge, obviously you'll clean out the larger surfaces, but getting in there is gonna be a little bit harder. So I like to just go ahead and use a brush. It just makes the cleanup a lot easier. All right, so most juicers have some kind of a grate or some kind of a basket catch-all. And when you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna clean that? Let me tell you, cleaning it with a sponge is going to be very difficult. So I just get my scrub brush, add a little bit of soap to it, and by the way, here's what I use. So I went and bought this. It was the least expensive dispenser at Target. I wanna say it was maybe $5.99, and I just put a drop on there, get it nice and wet so this gets sudsy, and you just go through like this. And it gets it all off of there. So easy, but I'm telling you, if you use a regular sponge or a dish rag, it's not gonna get it the same. So I just go on the outside, and then I go on the inside like this. Get it all nice and sudsy. Like that, okay? And then you rinse it out. And voila, nice and clean. The key, you guys, is this brush. You gotta get a bristled brush. Makes the cleanup so easier. There we go. Everything is nice and clean. I'm just gonna let it air dry right here. And here's the tip too. If you rinse with really, really hot water, your stuff dries faster. I'll put it back together, and then we'll stick it in the pantry. So I hope that this video has helped you. I hope that you get an idea of what juicing is all about. And it's not that difficult. And just like with anything else, the more you do it, the better at it you're gonna become. And something that might take you an hour or 45 minutes to do the first time around, and your kitchen might look like a disaster, you'll get a system, you'll get a routine, and it'll become much, much easier, I promise. But you gotta just keep doing it. So don't do it once or twice and like, this is just too much work, because once you get it down, you're gonna have a system and it's gonna be a lot faster, and I promise you it is so worth it. So I'm gonna go over, so over the last year, you know, whenever I post my juicing posts, I always get the same questions, for the most part, mostly the same questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and address them because I've written them down for us so that we can kind of stay on track and I don't forget anything. But if you do have questions, feel free to ask in the comments. You can message me. You can find me just about anywhere. My website is charlani.com, and there's lots of different ways to get a hold of me. I am the one who responds and answers to my emails and my messages. So shoot me a message, shoot me an email, and I will make sure that I get whatever question you have answered for you. Okay, so the first question I usually get is, where do I get my glass bottles? I know I talked about it in the video, but I'm gonna address it again. It's Amazon Breville juicing bottles is what it is. I will put the link down in the comments for you. I don't know, obviously, I'm not an affiliate of it. It's just the bottles that I have used for a really long time. I love them. Again, I suggest glass. If you put lemon in anything, that citrus and the oranges is going to eat through plastic. So this is just something that keeps it a little bit more fresh for you. And if you fill it up, you can see that there's a little bit of air left in there. If I would have added just a little bit more liquid, it would be all the way to the top. And then this little knob that is inside the cap would pretty much do away with all of the air that's in there, so your juice stays fresher that way. What else was I gonna say about that? Oh, how long does juice last? So if you read anything online, it's gonna tell you 24 to 48 hours from the time that you put it in the bottle. I will tell you that we have drunk our juice for at least 4 days, maybe 5. My husband will drink anything that doesn't have legs on it. So, I mean, and we've been fine. We've never had an issue. But with that being said, you also have to remember that the vegetables and the produce and the fruits that you put into this, it also depends on their ripeness as well. So just make sure that, you know, you gotta taste it. You'll know if it doesn't taste good or it doesn't smell good. You'll know pretty much right off the bat. So don't worry about it. But if you want to be, the correct response to that is 24 to 48 hours. We have gone about 4 days, and I think Rob has drank one of these for up to 5 days before, and we've been just fine. So anyways, that's my tip on that. Here's the other thing. We have what's called a must-go juicing system, where we would go through and whatever is in our fridge, we will get it in the juicer. So if we've got vegetables or fruits that are like almost going bad, we will put that in the juicer, but those we do drink within 24 hours. So just make sure that the freshness of your fruits and vegetables, that obviously is gonna determine how long and how fresh your juice will stay. Now, one of the main benefits I feel is in your skin. And I will tell you this, I have actually not juiced in about 2 weeks, and I absolutely feel it. My skin there's a big difference in the elasticity. I kind of have more of a glow when I do have my juice in me. Like, it's just one of those things that it's, for me, extremely noticeable. And I know when I started juicing, it's probably been about 1.5 years, I had a couple of my followers say, your skin looks amazing. And I'm like, I know, it's the juice. So that is definitely something that I love. The other thing is, this helps with cravings as well, because this is 16 ounces, and this kind of really does fill you up. And if you put oranges and apples in it like I do, it's gonna be sweet. So if you have a sweet tooth, drinking even half of this, earlier in the day and then maybe half of it later in the afternoon, my craving time a lot of the times is between 3 and 4 o'clock. So if I have juice at that time, it absolutely helps with those cravings because that sweetness will be taken care of when you drink your juice. Okay, so the other thing is, this is, I believe it's a 16-ounce bottle. I drink one of these each day, and I count it. If you are following the Portion Fix meal plan where we have our containers, the color containers, I count it as 1 fruit, and that is 1 purple container. Okay, so greens. Yes, I do also do green juice, which is basically a bag of SuperGreens with some kale, with cucumbers, like anything basically that's green. I have tried to juice broccoli. Doesn't work for me. I mean, it's a very little amount of juice for the amount of broccoli that you need, if you get any at all. So my suggestion is don't juice broccoli. For me, it's never worked out. Maybe for you it has, or you can try it. But I just stick to the bag of SuperGreens, a bunch of kale. Swiss chard, just FYI, is very bitter. It is the one thing that I have put in my juice and I'm like, never again, I'm not gonna do that. Try it. I'm not telling you not to try it because you might love it. I personally like a sweeter juice, so I don't add it to it anymore, but try everything at least once because you might find something that you really like. So greens, 1 big bag of the SuperGreens, and I wish I had a bag, I don't, but it's those bigger bags that you can buy. They're usually $5.99 or $6.99 depending on where you get it, but that 1 bag of juice is going to make 1.5 cups of juice, or so 1 bag of leaves is going to make 1.5 cups of juice, which isn't that much if you really think about it for the amount of money that is, but if you're adding other things to it, then it's definitely worth the money to add those greens into your juice with all the other stuff as well. Let's see. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. So a couple of weeks ago, the last time that I did a juicing session, I wrote down, I measured everything. I weighed everything and I measured it because this is another question that I get all the time. How much juice comes from how much of a fruit or a vegetable? And here's what it is. I'm gonna put it in the comments for you as well, but I'll read it off to you. So 1 bag of SuperGreens is 1.5 cups. 1 cucumber is 3/4 cup. 1 large lemon is 1/8 cup. 3 pounds of apple is 4 cups. 1 bunch of celery with the bottom trimmed off and the tops, a little bit of the tops trimmed off. 1 bunch of celery, usually get it in a bag, is 1 1/4 cup. A 4-inch stalk of ginger is about 2 tablespoons. 1 pound of carrots is 1 cup. 5 pounds of oranges is 4 to 5 cups, depends on how big your oranges are. And 1 small beet, the size of a tennis ball, is about 2 tablespoons. And beets just make your juice look really pretty and doesn't really add much of a taste to it. I like pretty juice, so I will add it to it because it makes it like red and pink. So that's what I've got for you. So if you don't want to do 10 bottles of juice, because if you're just juicing for yourself, that is going to be for the family for the next couple of days or few days. But if you're just juicing for yourself, you can use that as kind of a place to start so that you'll know about how much juice you're going to get. Obviously, these are just estimates. I don't know. It depends on what size apples, what size carrots, and all of that stuff. So just know that this is a good place to start. If you want a specific amount of juice, you can start with that. The juicer that I use is Jack LaLanne's Power Juicer. We got this juicer probably 4 years ago, and it literally, we used it a couple of times, and just like I said a minute ago, it was a mess. It was a disaster. It took a long time to clean, and we just never brought it out again. It sat in our pantry for a good couple of years before we brought it out again. So when I did bring it out again, it was one of those things where you just have to find your routine, clean as you go, and now it's wonderful and I love it, and I'm telling you, you just gotta give it a chance. Make sure that you get that system down so that cleaning is a lot easier, and it won't take you as long as it did the first or second or even third time that you've done it. Taste. So I personally love this juice. My very favorite juice is carrots, apples, oranges, lemons, ginger. That is my favorite juice. It is, I can't think of the name of the company. It's not Buddha juice, but it's another name, and they call it the Zinger because it kind of wakes you up. The lemon and the ginger just gives you a boost of energy, and it tastes really, really, really good. So that is my favorite juice. Now, whatever you add, obviously, to your juice is going to affect the way that it's going to taste. Like I said, if you add Swiss chard to, is it Swiss chard or Swiss chard? He's not listening to me. Chard is Swiss chard. So if you add that to this juice that tastes good just the way it is, then it's gonna make it bitter. So you gotta just play around with different recipes, different ingredients, add different things to it and see what you like. And if you don't like it, drink it anyways. It's one drink, it's one juice. Just drink it because it's healthy for you and it's gonna give you a ton of nutrients that your body absolutely needs. So, you know, just do it. It drives me nuts when people are like, oh, I don't like the way it tastes. Just drink it anyways. And then play around with those recipes. Google is your friend. Pinterest, there's lots of different combinations on there for you as well. And the last thing, well, let me make sure. Yeah, we're good. The last thing that you can add is aloe concentrate. If you can find that, you can add a little bit, maybe like 1 ounce to each of your juice, or you can just pour a bunch of it into that big container of juice and then pour it into these. Aloe has some wonderful health benefits to that. Coconut water, that's another thing that you can add to your juice. And those are kind of like fillers. Okay. The very last thing, I actually get this. I've gotten this several times, and for me, I'm kind of like that's an issue. So when you get your juice, right, you pour it in the bottle, it looks like this. You let it sit in your refrigerator for a little while, and this is what it's going to do. It's going to separate. You're gonna have a separation of the pulp and this. The way that you fix this is just, you just shake it. You just shake it up. And it's exactly the way that you put it in there. So no, that didn't mean that your juice got rotten. It's just, you just need to shake it up. That's all you have to do. All right, guys, I hope that this video was helpful. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, just let me know. And if you are not subscribed to Charlani TV, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and you'll get notifications when I get new videos up. All right, have a great day. Bye.